Spies, James Bond,
Jason Bourne,
Tom Cruise desperately sprinting to chase down someone escaping a Scientology compound.
Stories about spies have been a pillar of international media for nearly a century and are usually the definition of media for adults.
They've got gadgets, guns, and girls.
Easy.
Sorry. You wouldn't want most children watching stories about geopolitical espionage that includes alcohol, assassinations, violent car chases, and worst of all, British men. But when we were young boys in the 2000s, a new addition to the spy genre began to emerge.
An era that burned fast and bright, only to basically vanish years later.
This was the time of the child spy. I gotta take these off.
I can't see shit in these things. From 2000 to about 2006, the world was graced with an explosion of TV shows, movies, and toys centering around the idea of children becoming secret agents. It was a booming multi-million-dollar industry that captured the imaginations of kids in the United States, but most importantly, these two boys.
Adorable. We ate this shit up when we were kids. Spy Kids, Agent Cody Banks, Spy Gear, Codename Kids Next Door, and much more. But lately we've been wondering, what happened here? Kids who are secret agents aren't like a real thing that inspired that concept. So we decided to go back and examine how spy media had gotten to that point and watch through all of the Spy Kids media from our childhood to see exactly what the hell was going on with these kids.
The Spy Kids era followed decades of spy media being popularized around the world. So there would be no Junie Cortez without a certain alcoholic, womanizing British murderer from the 20th century.
In the wake of World War II, tensions began to rise between two emerging global forces. The United States used the war to establish themselves as one, a nuclear superpower, and two, the leaders in big hats.
The Soviet Union was also on their way to building their own nuclear arsenal. With this newfound power came the rising tension in who would impose their ideology on the rest of the world against their will.
One was for freedom, cash money, John Deere tractors, and the other was bad and red.
Scary color.
Blue good. Red bad.
But when both countries have the power to destroy the entire world with a push of a button, you have to get a little creative in how you fuck with each other. This birthed a new age of espionage and the idea of a modern spy.
And there's no better example of the modern spy than the most well-known and iconic, James Bond. For those who don't know, James Bond is sort of an old-ass Cody Banks. He was created by the author Ian Fleming a decade after World War II.
Before the war, Fleming had a pretty accomplished career. As a journalist, he reported for Reuters in Moscow for a trial on espionage, where he was also tasked to report back on the state of the Soviet Union.
Sounds like a spy and a journalist.
What is a spy really? Someone who spies on another country?
Yeah. With tensions rising across the globe headed for World War II, Great Britain began beefing up their naval intelligence, and Ian Fleming was appointed to the role of lieutenant in the special branch of the Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve. It was there that Fleming got most of his inspiration for the James Bond books. He even worked on an operation called Goldeneye. As the war is headed to a close, dude goes to Jamaica with his friend and falls in love with the place. Staying true to his British roots, he arrived on an island and thought, yeah, I think I'll live here now.
After the war, it was there in his Jamaican home, which he named Goldeneye, where he began writing books. Fleming already had an idea for the sort of books he'd write, as he confided in his colleague in the Naval Intelligence, Robert Harling, that he intended to write the spy story to end all spy stories. Then in 1953, the first Bond novel, Casino Royale, released to the public.
The books exploded in popularity in the UK and around the world. They inspired a CBS show that sucked, where James Bond was American and everyone forgot about it, a comic strip, but couldn't quite seem to get a movie made due to a bunch of business drama about owning the film rights to the books.
Drama about owning the rights to James Bond?
Different times, man. Different times. Finally, the production clears up, and they choose one of the Bond novels that will be a bit easier to produce due to its location and style. In 1962, the first Bond film starring Sean Connery, who is 32 in this movie. This is a 40-year-old man, releases by the name of Dr. No.
Dr. No is more of a detective film at its heart, but the movie does a pretty good job of establishing the world of Bond and the international network of spies. It also establishes Bond as a smooth-talking government employee who fucks anything that moves.
It was also, for some reason, one of John F. Kennedy's favorite movies.
Not sure why.
Don't really see a connection there. The movie also featured 2 white actors portraying Chinese people. But hey, it was the 60s. Oh, yep. Got it. Yeah, it was still bad in the 60s. I apologize for saying that. I am listening. And I am learning.
It's got the eccentric villain, a car chase, sex, gadgets, and guns. But overall, the movie that feels much more familiar to the spy media we know now is the sequel that followed.
From Russia with Love remains one of the best and most iconic spy films of all time, and is mostly where the aesthetics of spy media come from. It's got international travel, fancy suits, fun gadgets, double agents, and oh god, oh no, James Bond just saved a village and was gifted 2 women to have a threesome with.
Barbara said for you to decide. So decide. They're both yours.
They also screened the movie early for JFK the night before he flew to Dallas where he was assassinated.
What? What followed this film was decades of iterations on James Bond as a character, what type of missions he'd go on, what type of new gadgets he'd wield as technology progressed, and what actor would take his place.
We also don't really need to tell you that Bond inspired dozens, if not hundreds of films outside of the series throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
But what the fuck does this have to do with Spy Kids? Well, it's in the first word of the 2, dumbass. Even though Bond and Spies were popular for decades, the late 90s saw what we like to call the second wave of America's spy obsession. This was kicked off by Bond yet again with Pierce Brosnan's first iteration of the character in Goldeneye.
It was the highest grossing Bond film in nearly 20 years and one of the top 10 movies of 1995. It was so popular that it inspired a hit video game adaptation 2 years later that changed first-person shooters forever.
1 year later, Tom Cruise sprints past it in the box office with the start of the mega hit franchise Mission Impossible. And from then on, it was Spy City, baby. Austin Powers in 1997 and 1999. September 2001, 9/11 creates rabid mass intrigue and military espionage in the Middle East for some odd reason. 2002, a sequel to Mission Impossible and the start of the Jason Bourne series.
But this new wave of spy media came around in an era that treated children completely differently than the 60s.
The 80s to the 2000s saw a boom in markets aimed specifically at children. From arcades to entire television channels, an increase in animated movies and TV, themed restaurants, fuck you Rainforest Cafe. The idea of creating spaces tailored to just children for profit had become a large portion of the entertainment and service industry.
So while adults were treated to Jason Bourne, Ethan Hunt, and Austin Powers, the kids needed something to watch as well. So while there was other media featuring kid spies, the first major addition to the genre, and perhaps the most famous, came in 2001.
Between driving the kids to school
Mommy's mimicking me! Mommy's mimicking me!
and putting them to bed,
Lights out. Good night.
no one would ever guess that mom and dad are the world's top secret agents. Now that they've been kidnapped, the only 2 people that can save them are their kids. Sometimes the biggest heroes come in small packages. Spy Kids.
Robert Rodriguez's Spy Kids begins with the Cortez family, living in one of the most beautiful cliffside homes I've ever seen. Gregorio and Ingrid Cortez are former international spies who gave up a life of espionage to raise their children, Junie and Carmen. When Gregorio and Ingrid answer the call once again as spies for the first time as parents, they go missing, hoisting Junie and Carmen into the world of spies in an attempt to escape capture and save their parents. Now, I think sometimes when it comes to books, television, movies, or any media for children, you measure quality much different than the same media for adults. Something like a PBS show that helps kids learn their letters and numbers should not be held to the same standards for writing, cinematography, and acting as Severance, Better Call Saul, or The Wire. That's not to say that we shouldn't encourage and celebrate when children's media manages to do both, though. So with that being said, something like Spy Kids isn't beyond criticism, but when we say these movies are not great films, there's more to it than that.
Both Spy Kids 1 and 2 accomplish things you'd want out of a kids movie while also being mediocre movies themselves. Carmen and Junie have a pretty standard but relatable sibling rivalry.
You gonna hang there all day, scaredy cat? Told you not to look down. I can't help it. I'm slipping.
Carmen is older, more capable, and adventurous than Junie, who plays the role of the screw-up, black sheep younger brother of the family. Their parents, Gregorio and Ingrid, have spent the last decade giving up their young and exciting life to parent 2 children, but are beginning to miss that life and feel like their identities have been swallowed by the role of mom and dad.
So, they retired, settled down, had a few kids, trading espionage for parenthood. And, they were better off. The end.
No happily ever after?
Well, I said they were better off.
These very realistic family roles of the early 2000s suburban life gives the ridiculous setting of Spy Kids some real heart to it for a family watching.
This makes the somewhat silly involvement of flugels, thumbs, and child robot soldiers have a real emotional backbone. But all that stupid shit serves its own purpose in really playing with the imagination of kids watching. Spy Kids 2001 is weird. Like, way weirder than you'd expect it to be if you've never seen the movies. It's not just a story about kids who become spies to save their parents. It's also this existential nightmare about rescuing your parents from being turned into freak clayhead monster prisoners who'd then be paraded around on your favorite kids show as mascots.
I think he's going to be a bestseller.
It's like if you found out that your missing father was the vacuum on Teletubbies, or that your mom was like SpongeBob. But that weirdness made it really iconic for people our age who watched the movie. You don't really forget seeing a thumb person for the first time. You will always remember seeing a flugel.
Whether you like it or not.
No matter how hard you close your eyes.
This bizarre reality mixed with Junie and Carmen's gadgets, including EMP gumballs, jetpacks, submarines, microwaves that can materialize a full Happy Meal in seconds, and spy sunglasses mostly provided by their uncle.
According to the database, you're always traveling, and no one knows what you do for a living.
I think we all have uncles like that.
Makes this a messy, sometimes batshit crazy, but heartwarming family story that really connected with children. Their uncle and father even serve as a parallel to Junie and Carmen as a sibling rivalry that has stretched into adulthood.
Carmen saw her uncle being mean to her dad and thought, wait, Junie will be dad someday, and I will be uncle. Also, their uncle is Machete. Not like Trejo's Machete in Robert Rodriguez's movie Machete in 2010, but it is Trejo in another movie by Robert, and his name is also Machete in 2001. So yeah, I don't know, weird movie universe.
But for people our age, Spy Kids ignited something in us that was only just beginning. The obsession with becoming a spy kid ourselves. Now, much like most kids media at the time, Spy Kids also came with a line of Happy Meal toys, so fans of the movie could have gadgets like Junie and Carmen Cortez.
And just in time, a brand new toy company had their product on the shelves. Those toys were called Spy Gear.
Spy Gear from Wild Planet. Real undercover technology. Sold separately. Batteries not included.
Spy Gear was a line of spy-themed kids' toys created by a company called Wild Planet Entertainment in the late 1990s. The company's mission statement was to make toys that didn't rely on violence or gender stereotypes.
Wild Planet launched the Spy Gear line in 1998, 3 years before the Spy Kids boom began. As far as toys go, this is like setting up a gold-digging supply store in California in 1845. So if your child was excited about becoming a spy like Junie and Carmen after leaving the theater in 2001, there was a line of toys already on the shelves.
In 2001, they even posted on their website saying, "Spies are everywhere, in books, newspapers, TV shows, and movies. Tons of them. And Wild Planet is on the scene with cool spy gear."
They had everything a spy could dream of. They sold motion sensors, binoculars, walkie-talkies, and much more, including possibly their most famous item, their night vision goggles, which we absolutely had 2 pairs of. And they were less night vision goggles and more just pieces of green plastic with a shitty light that popped out.
Now, we remember the light being not good enough to use as a flashlight, making it impossible to use for any other purpose than looking awesome. But we decided to buy a pair off eBay just to put it to the test.
Now, we decided to get more gadgets than just the night vision goggles, but Tony got a little excited.
What's this one?
So you put this one in your ear, and then you can listen to what's in front of you. Laser? It's a laser? This is a watch. Stopwatch, night vision, world time, magnifying lens, pop-up telescope, motion alarm with timestamp, safe drop capsule. Wait, what? Don't look cool?
Actually, kinda, yeah. So it's 2002. Last year, Spy Kids was huge in theaters. The VHS came out in September. There were Spy Kids toys in your Happy Meals, and Spy Gear toys are all over the shelves when you go to Walmart with tears in your eyes on a Friday night after your sister made you cry at Chili's because she said you only like the boring flavors of ice cream, that you never branch out.
Too specific.
Sorry. So 2002 was the year that the Spy Kids trend kicked into Spy Gear. Flip the TV to Disney Channel and you'd see the premiere of Kim Possible, an animated show about a teen spy named Kim and her dumb but lovable best friend Ron.
Together they go on missions with Rufus, Ron's pet naked mole rat. And if 1996 to 2001 was the introduction of kids becoming spies, 2002 was the start of the established Spy Kid. Kids who are already secret agents and are hiding the double life from their parents.
Kim had gadgets, battled criminal masterminds, and like a quote modern teen at the time, would get her missions on her flip cell phone with this iconic ringtone. Now, while trying to look up footage of Kim Possible, we found a video called Kim Possible vs. Shigo All Catfights Season 1 compilation from a channel called Catfight Paradise?
The entire channel is dedicated to catfight compilations?
Imagine you're on a first date and you ask a guy what he does for work and he says this. Hold on, I'm getting a call from headquarters. Oh, it's time for a quick sponsor. Sorry, I thought it was gonna be like a cool mission or something.
Hi, it's Tiny Tony, and this video is sponsored by Surfshark. Surfshark VPN keeps your online identity safe by encrypting all of the information sent between your device and the internet. This keeps your personal data protected from big companies or cyber criminals. Big companies are huge for Tiny Tony. Also, a VPN swaps the real location of your device with a new one. This way you can virtually travel to any country around the globe. So Surfshark lets me watch all of my tiny shows wherever I am in the world by unblocking content libraries and streaming services from other countries. Tiny Tony couldn't watch Spirited Away on Netflix in the US, but he changed the VPN location to Canada and suddenly he could. Tiny Tony can also use a VPN to connect more safely to public Wi-Fi at places like the airport. One ticket to tiny Phoenix, Arizona, please. Surfshark also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Anyone can try out what it has to offer, and if it's not the perfect fit, no worries, you've got time. So go to surfshark.com/Burback deal for 4 extra months of Surfshark. Thank you, Surfshark. Now back to the big video.
Okay, so back to 2002, where instead of a catfight compilation on YouTube, that's probably like an entire show on MTV. If you flip to Cartoon Network, you'd see a new show called Codename Kids Next Door. Now this was one of our favorite kids shows of all time, especially because it existed in this absolutely ridiculous world where the spy gadgets and villains were all inspired by things a child has around them. There's just something so playful and insane about the setting, but they would play the plot completely seriously.
Are you all blind? Adults can't stand the idea that a kid can be smarter than them, so whenever they find a smart one, they send him to college where they remove his brain.
And when we weren't watching these shows, we were on the websites, like DisneyChannel.com and CartoonNetwork.com playing the Flash games.
Because the Spy Kids era fell in the early 2000s, every Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, and Nickelodeon show or movie got a set of their own website Flash games. But it didn't stop there. There was a Kim Possible PS2 game, DS games, Codename Kids Next Door on GameCube and PS2, Spy Kids games that started with this one for the first movie. Yeah, I don't No, is that supposed to be Junie? What's he jumping on? Was that in the first movie?
Spy Kids 3D Game Over game, and many more. It's so odd to look back at this industry today because instead of Flash, DS, and PS2 games, companies now would likely make a Junie Fortnite skin, make $20 million on it, and call it a day.
2002 was becoming the peak year of the Spy Kid. And just 1 year after the original film's release, and 11 months after the second plane hit the towers, a second Spy Kids hit theaters.
Much like the other Spy Kid media introduced in 2002, we rejoin the lives of Junie and Carmen Cortez in a much more established spy universe.
They're now level 2 agents at the OSS, the spy agency that employed their parents in the past. It also currently employs their parents. The whole family is back being spies in this one.
It's got a much greater focus on Y2K era gadgets as well, like a watch that looks like a flip phone, this robot bug, and these spinning light-up toys that have been used in both movies but get disarmed before we see what they actually do.
It's really interesting that this year came with such an increased wish fulfillment in the Spy Kid fantasy. Junie and Carmen have their own spy-based treehouse, which is extremely similar to the Codename Kids Next Door treehouse that same year. And with this wish fulfillment, not only do the kids get to use fun gadgets, they have code names. They get their own badges, bases, and submarines.
These stories don't just come with spy aesthetics. They come with a sense of authority and respect that a kid doesn't really get in their own life. At one point, Junie even mentions that his spy clearance allows him to demand the president's attention.
I'm level 2. I can order him to talk to me.
A big part of that fantasy, at least for us as kids, was that sense of respect and purpose. Kim Possible, the Codename kids, Junie, and Carmen are all not only in a situation to save the world, they're chosen and trusted to do so because they're capable and trained.
That appeal to children is mostly what something like Spy Kids has going for it.
The second film also continues to have its roots in family problems masked in spy glasses like the first, but less successfully. The best example in this one is definitely Junie, who I think unfortunately becomes more of the main character of the series, especially measuring his screen time in the third movie. Junie is dealing with the fact that he keeps making the correct calls and is right most of the time, but is not being heard by those around him because they see him as a helpless kid. Yet again, a very central theme that any child watching could connect to.
Gregorio and Ingrid are dealing with the fear of their missing children, the intergenerational struggle of Ingrid's parents judging their parenting skills, and facing the fact that their kids may not need their help all the time and are becoming old enough to do things on their own. However, all of that is packed into like 15 minutes of B-plot, so it's not really too central to the movie. Carmen mostly just has a crush on a boy named Gary Giggles.
We were just talking about you.
Really?
She's a driving force to the whole narrative, but her teen problems definitely get less of a spotlight than Junie's issues. It would have been fine if she was the star of the third movie, but yet again, Carmen heads will be disappointed that Junie steals the damn show for Spy Kids 3D Game Over.
It's alright, man. It's just Spy Kids.
It's fucking bullshit. I've been waiting years
to
see
hot,
Carmen.
Too hot. You're too hot.
I'm too hot. All that being said, this might be one of the ugliest movies we have ever watched. The special effects and CGI range from passable to distractingly bad. From flying shots, CGI monsters, to completely 3D green screen backgrounds. So many of the effects in this movie look so artificial that it's hard to even pay attention to what's happening in the story. And on top of all of that is the fact that the island has no consistency to it. Some shots are a lush jungle shot in Costa Rica, and other bits are clearly filmed in Texas.
But something deep within us, defying all logic and criticism, still feels that this movie rules. Do I think it rules while I'm watching it? No, but how can we judge a movie that had such cool gadgets, outfits, Mike Judge, and just casually drops the line of the decade from Steve Buscemi while he's talking about being scared of his zoo monster creations?
Do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
Lastly, I think Antonio Banderas' comedic performance in the first two Spy Kids movies are totally underrated. He's somehow both convincingly an accomplished, handsome international spy, and this loving father that is so extremely emotionally fragile about his family's love and respect.
Not you guys!
Oh, you don't want to be rescued. You don't want to be saved. It's all right. We thought you might need us.
Go talk to your father. You're thinking, but you know what? Those spies didn't have me for a mom.
Come on. Thank you.
After the success of Spy Kids 2, the era of child espionage was in full effect.
Spy Gear was expanding its new catalog of cutting-edge spy toys like a flashlight for your ear, or a new spy flashlight for your hand. Looking at Spy Gear's catalog, it's crazy how much of these plastic toys we recognize, but it's hard to tell which ones we actually owned, saw at a friend's house, or just on TV as a commercial. These things were everywhere when we were growing up. While we were making this video, I could not stop thinking about one of my favorite toys I've ever received as a birthday gift. The Spy video car.
Spy Gear. I set my Spy video car on a mission to spy on my little bro. Next up, my big sis. She's supposed to be studying. Busted!
Now yes, the controller takes 6 AA batteries, and the car also takes 6 AA batteries, but the car has a camera on the front, and you drive it with goggles that show you a live video feed of what the car is seeing.
The Spy video car has a camera, video headset, and night vision. Spy Gear remote control video.
I can see you with my car, so don't even fucking try anything.
Tony, can I drive?
We flipped a coin. I get to play. We flipped it, I won.
Cody Banks followed the Spy Kids trend with more of a focus on a 2000s teenage James Bond. The movie is much less a story on the importance of family and much more the ultimate wish fulfillment for 15-year-old boys.
Cody is a secret agent, picked up by a CIA program where they recruit minors without their parents' permission.
And it would be impossible to mention that rewatching this movie, it is full of a weird semi-sexual tension, especially with Cody's handler. They're just constantly sexualizing her around Cody and other young guys. It's super weird, and it's not just us. It did not go unnoticed at the time.
Well, and I also think that the whole Angie Harmon thing is just kind of creepy, where she's falling out of her top and you've got all these, you know, adolescent boys leering after her. It just seemed out of place in this movie.
Whoever designed her costume should get a negative Oscar.
There you go.
At one point, she walks into a teenage boy's locker room, and everyone's like, ooh, she's hot. And then she takes the towel of a young boy, pulls it off of him in front of all the friends, and then whips his little butt with it.
I don't know. Cody was geared more at preteen boys in the 2000s. He drives cool cars, he kicks his bully's ass, he skateboards, he rides a snowboard that has jets on it, and he dates Hilary Duff.
All things a girl can do, of course, but this is the early 2000s. Girl like horse.
Girl read book.
Girl like jewelry. But Cody Banks wasn't the only little boy spy to hit theaters in 2003. 4 months later, and just 1 year after Spy Kids 2, just 2 years after Spy Kids 1, and 1 year and 10 months after Giuliani became America's mayor, Spy Kids 3D Game Over hit theaters.
For those unaware of Spy Kids 3D Game Over, it pretty much abandons the spy genre entirely. Junie, now retired from the OSS after the events of Spy Kids 2, is tasked with rescuing Carmen from inside a brand new virtual reality video game.
Your sister's missing.
Remember when we said Spy Kids 2 was one of the ugliest movies we'd ever seen? Yeah, that's because the ugliest movie is probably Spy Kids 3.
Now, since the video game in the movie, Game Over, is not a real game, and still over 20 years later, we don't have any video game so advanced that you can enter it like a new reality, the visual identity and rules of this movie are all over the place.
That is your life count. After taking heavy damage, you lose a life.
Whatever. I want cheat codes, backdoor entrances, shortcuts, anything.
See that target? Hit it. You'll bounce straight to the moon.
The plot is reliant entirely by these made-up rules in this made-up game, but it's pretty simple to wrap your head around. Basically, Game Over is a new advanced virtual reality game that is in beta testing but is about to release and be played by every single kid in the world. When you put on the game's glasses, your body and consciousness are transported inside. Carmen went into the game to shut it down and is currently trapped in level 4, so Junie has to make it through levels 1, 2, and 3 to rescue Carmen. Now there are 5 levels, but you don't want to get to level 5. Level 5 isn't real. It's a trap. That's because the entire game was created by the Toy Maker, some kind of criminal that the OSS imprisoned in cyberspace a long time ago. The Toy Maker wants a child to reach level 5 and unlock him from his cyber prison. The problem is Junie sucks and is a loser, so he needs to employ the help of a nerd, a strong boy, a cool kid named Rez, and Demetra, Junie's new crush, who is soon to be revealed as not a real kid and part of the programming of the game, but is also her own person with a crush on Junie. But the crew of kids is not enough. He needs the help of his grandfather, who gets called into the game by Junie.
You get to bring in any one person from the outside to help you on your journey.
Call up the family files.
Pros, superior intellect. Cons, physically disabled.
Grandpa!
Junie, where am I?
Sorry, I'm having trouble. The grandpa got teleported
into the game, yes, but he instantly gets a power-up called Mega Legs that give him the ability to walk again, which is perfect because the toy maker and him have a history. Grandpa and the toy maker have beef, so Junie fights with a giant mech, plays Mario Kart, and wins the respect of the other players who now believe he's the guy, a prophesized hero that will bring players to level 5.
Wait, so the new game has like a religious prophecy?
Yes. So Junie finds Carmen, and they reach the door to level 5, where the real The Guy, played by Elijah Wood, exposes Junie as a fake The Guy.
He's not the guy.
I am.
And you are?
I'm the guy.
And then instantly dies.
Wait, so Elijah Wood dies or Junie dies?
The real The Guy dies, the fake The Guy lives. And the rest is pretty simple. Everyone leaves the game except for Junie's grandpa, who wants to break in and see the toy maker. Revealed as the man who put him in the wheelchair until Junie convinces him to shut down the game, let it go, and leave. But he doesn't. He leaves and sets the toy maker free, bringing his robots into the real world and forcing the Cortez family and all their pals from the previous movies to join together Avengers Endgame style and fight the monkey robots. Junie's grandpa finally faces the toy maker, tells him he forgives him, and that he should forgive himself for what he did. Everyone huddles together and chants family, and the trilogy ends there.
Not really a spy movie.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's difficult to stress how all-consuming the kid spy trend was to our lives. Even after showing 3 Spy Kids movies, a bunch of spy gear toys and Happy Meals, TV shows, and Agent Cody Banks, it also stretched into the reality TV that our parents were watching.
Now, if you're unfamiliar with Extreme Makeover Home Edition, it was a hugely popular reality show from the mid-2000s. The format of the show mainly consisted of the producers finding the biggest family sob stories in the country to pull at the heartstrings of the American public. They would then visit their home, find out about their housing needs, interests, and hobbies, then send them on vacation while they gutted, demolished, and rebuilt the house into something new, before performatively moving a big ol' bus in front of their eyesight to reveal the new home.
Now, if this sounds like it's a bit exploitative, it's because it was. An internal memo from the production even leaked, featuring a wish list for families with specific health conditions. Sometimes, the show would add much needed renovations while delivering the absolute dream home for the family. But one issue was that they'd fulfill the wish of every family member.
At first, it was pretty innocent. Let's say your kid likes dinosaurs. Well, we gave him a dinosaur bed with a dinosaur slide. But the show needed to become increasingly extreme. So if your daughter, say, likes pirates, congratulations, a room in your house now looks exactly like the captain's quarters of a pirate ship, making it difficult to sell the home or even at the very least live in it after your kid goes to college, or when your kids taste change in like a month, or they turn 15 and it's embarrassing to live in a child's dream bedroom.
In 2011, an episode of Extreme Makeover Home Edition aired following the Gromish family. Before the home makeover crew arrives, there's a much needed renovation that the family wants for their home. Their 10-year-old son Garrett, who's in a wheelchair, struggles to move around the house due to a lack of accessibility.
If I'm going this way and I want to turn it around, that happened.
While talking to Garrett, one of the hosts, Paul, learns that he loves spy toys and wants to be an FBI agent when he grows up. Paul gets picked up by FBI agents and is flown to Quantico.
The thing is, he goes without Garrett. He gets to learn martial arts, door breaching, drifting for some reason, and has the time of his fucking life. He even gets his own junior FBI badge that he does not give to Garrett.
He doesn't even show it to him.
He's sitting with Garrett, sweating. I hope he doesn't see the badge in my backpack.
After finishing their new, beautiful, accessible home and surprising the family with it, Paul and Garrett use his brand new elevator sponsored by CVS Pharmacy?
Our friends at CVS Pharmacy know how important freedom and independence is to Garrett.
Garrett enters his room and holy shit, it's like every spy kid's dream. It's got a giant screen with Google Earth on it and 3D glasses to aid in pretending to be an international spy. But most importantly, a finger scanner that unlocks a secret room.
Remember when I told you that CVS Pharmacy did a special room just for you? Mm-hmm. Put your finger right on that finger scanner. Check out that room.
Spy Gear had a secret base installed into his bedroom. Screens, lasers, a vault of brand new Spy Gear toys, and a computer that shows cameras set up around the house. Also, we're not mad about this. In fact, I'm jealous of Garrett. But even though the spy craze stretched all the way out to 2011 and beyond, the heart of this era began to slow around 2006. Spy Kids 3D Game Over ended the Spy Kids trilogy in 2003. Cody Banks 2 flopped both critically and in the box office in 2004. Kim Possible ended in 2007. Codename Kids Next Door ended in 2008.
For the next few years, the VHS, DVD, and TV reruns carried them along culturally. In 2006, Spy Gear even had a line of toys that came in Happy Meals at McDonald's.
Spy Kids were everywhere. In the movie theater, in every retail store, in your Happy Meal, and even in Garrett's room. But the flow of new spy shows and movies began to run dry. Every genre or subgenre craze begins to fatigue audiences at some point. Westerns, fantasy, zombies, superheroes all have their moment and become staples in entertainment, but can't be the one on top forever, especially if it's aimed at kids who grow up fast.
The concept of a spy kid didn't go away, it just isn't a cultural moment anymore. You can still find spy toys on the shelves. There have been 2 more Spy Kid movies and TV shows with similar concepts.
This was a craze that made a lot of money off of kids, but we've got to say, it was really fun. Most of the content of the time was pretty cool and imaginative for the kids watching. And because of Robert's films and shows like Kim Possible or Codename Kids Next Door, they weren't as heavily gendered as other kids' crazes. And definitely not as heavily gendered as the Bond movies. It was a time for kids to pretend to have more agency in their lives, to use fun gadgets.
And Spy Kids 3D was actually the last movie JFK watched before he got in the convertible in Dallas.
Okay, that one can't be true.
No, it's true. I actually looked it up on Google and Gemini told me.
I told you gotta stop Googling shit with Gemini. It gives the wrong answers like every time. It's rotting your fucking brain, dude. Spy Kids 3D Game Over is what JFK watched?
Yeah.
What streaming service did you watch on?
It was on Max. Well, it was HBO at the time.